So in 2019, when I really began this journey of deeply diving into our ancient mysteries in the ancient world, I'd always had this thought that perhaps the advancement of human technology was acted upon by an outside force of some kind. And this isn't an idea that I alone have come to. Many scientists, independent researchers, and skeptics alike have come to the same conclusion as well, that something or somebody was advancing these ancient humans at a notable rate, a rate so fast that what they were able to accomplish has yet to be entirely explained by modern science. And perhaps if we look just beyond our conventional way of thinking, could we find an answer that explains the advancement of ancient human technology? I'm Luke Caverns, and thank you all so much for being here as we travel back anywhere from 6,000 to 14,000 years into our ancient origins. For all we know about our world in the modern day, and as little as we believe the ancient people knew about our world, we still find ourselves puzzled at the amazing feats of architecture and the fingerprints of a lost technology that still remain. Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, the pyramids of Giza, the Nazca Lines, the Antikythera, archaeological evidence for the harnessing of electricity as late as just 2,000 years ago, the erosion around the Sphinx, which may indicate that the Sphinx was built during a time when Egypt was a tropical swamp, at least several thousand years before the early dynastic Egyptians of 3000 BC. Ancient maps recording geographical locations not officially recorded to have been discovered until the early 1800s. All of this and so much more points towards an early civilization of humans who are far more progressed than officially given credit for. But where did these technological leaps come from? How are the blocks of Stonehenge lifted with no archaeological evidence of the wheel, scaffolding, or ramps? Furthermore, how did the ancient Egyptians build the Great Pyramids to align not with magnetic north, but true north, within 1/10 of 1 degree, built with limestone blocks that could not be cut efficiently or precisely by the Bronze Age tools used by the post-dynastic Egyptians? And these are just a few of the inexplicable feats accomplished by the ancients. Clearly, we're missing some key element to the story of ancient technology. With seemingly no hard archaeological explanation, what if we were to look into the legends passed down throughout ancient history? Could we find something that may lead us to a better understanding of ancient technology? This brings us to the first weapon. In the book of Genesis, we see Adam and Eve being kicked out of the garden for likely defiling themselves with the serpent. But what we see next really stood out to me a couple of years ago when I reread Genesis through the applicability of the lens to the real world. Attempting to interpret how, if the story is true, how would it have played out in reality? Determining carefully what each phrase really means, and if some specific topics may have more implication than we even realize. In Genesis 3, we learn that just after Adam and Eve were driven out of the garden, Yahweh places a cherubim wielding a flaming sword at the east end of the garden to guard the way for the tree of life. And what piqued my interest here is the use of the term sword. According to Abrahamic religion, this is the very first time we see technology being used at all, and it's not wielded by a human being, but rather an extraterrestrial, so to speak. This is coincided by many people, researchers, and even scientists alike, who towards the end of their career end up concluding with a speculation that our species must have been influenced or perhaps pushed forward by an outside force. In ancient religions from all over the world, we see stories passed down throughout the millennium of angelic or godlike beings coming down to earth to lend a hand to humanity and teach them how to harness the world around them. With so many coinciding ancient texts from such vastly different areas of the world, across many different time periods, each civilization containing similar views of religion as well as similar architecture, could there be any truth to these ancient myths and legends? After turning over these ideas in my head for a while, I eventually came across the ancient book of Enoch. Quoted by Jesus Christ himself as well as the disciples, Enoch actually explicitly depicts and gives an account of ancient man's interactions with extraterrestrial beings, the name of those beings, and what they taught humanity to do. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied in those days, were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. The angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget us children. It's also here in Enoch that we get an exact number of angels who took part in the defiling of ancient women. 200 angels in total, with the 20 leaders of legions whose names are also given. As these deities become assimilated with mankind, they begin to rule over them, teaching them the laws of our world and how to harness the resources around them. And as we continue, we actually get somewhat of an answer to the mystery of the first weapon. In Enoch chapter 8, we're told that Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments and the use of antimony and the beautifying of eyelids. Semjaza taught enchantments and the cutting of roots. Armoros taught the resolving of enchantments. Barikajel taught astrology, and interestingly enough, just a simple Google search will show you that astrology and the origin of zodiac signs actually first officially appear in the city of Babylon of Mesopotamia, which is of course said to be one of the most wicked cities in the ancient world. And not only in Christianity and Judaism do we see these beings and deities being worshipped in the ancient world, but also in the Quran. We can read of a sect of beings called the Jinn, which bear a striking resemblance in some ways to the fallen angels of Genesis and Enoch. Similarly, these Jinn were also worshipped by ancient men and women in the same manner that the fallen angels were. They made gods of themselves among men and taught men how to do wonders that we still study today. Furthermore, these fallen angels and the Jinn make undeniable connections to the Anunnaki of Sumeria, the Greek gods of Olympus, and even the gods of ancient Egypt. So, if we approach these ancient myths and legends with a bit more of an open mind, it begins to paint a picture of our ancient world that makes much more sense and fits in place more so than our current narrative does. Is it possible that if we were to put our efforts towards studying non-physical or metaphysical phenomenon, like Nikola Tesla advocated for, could we possibly uncover the truth of our ancient past and what caused these ancient civilizations to be wiped from the earth? I'm Luke Caverns, and we'll learn more about the cataclysmic events and flooding that destroyed nearly all of ancient humanity next time on Ancient Origins.